Mother-in-law just stabbed me, and somehow in the hole. So to preface, I'd been married 4 years together 4/7 with a 3-year-old. Hasn't liked me since I became a tattoo artist around 5 years ago and gave her son his first tattoo. I'm heavily inked and now my husband is too. His tattoos are a huge point of contention between she and I. She takes him getting modifications as him ruining the body she made for him, and has asked him on several occasions if he isn't happy with himself and goes on these weird woe as me, I guess all of the work I did to make you doesn't matter, you hate what I made, I'm the worst mom, how could you do this to me? etc. She has always been nothing more than passive aggressive until today. We made a rare visit to Mill and SFL's house to let Low play on their jungle gym. Since he's been begging to go, Millel was pleasant and ordered us all takeout. It was actually kind of nice. Phil pulled out his phone and asked, so what do you think of this, and showed me a really well done tattoo. I said it was gorgeous. He asked if I could do it and I said no because it isn't in a style I'm familiar with doing, but if he gave me time to practice I'd be more than happy to do it once I figure out how to get the shading right. It's a very specific tattoo done by a well-known artist that is really hard to emulate. Overheard and made and comment about me being a bad influence. I joke back, yeah, being a bad influence kind of comes with the territory, I guess. I stab people a lot for a living. I didn't realize what had happened for a moment. And according to DH, Mill moves so fast that it even took him a second to catch on. Had been fiddling around with the fire pit, using a little hot dog roasting pick thing that came to a point. She whipped it towards me and jammed it into the upper part of my arm. I jumped up and started screaming. DH was yelling. Low started crying. Svel ushered Mill into the house and kept yelling, sorry, oh my god, I'm so sorry, why would you do that? I'm so sorry, please don't call the police, hold on, I'm coming back, are you okay? And another word vomit to defuse us. We packed Low into the car and Millel didn't resurface. The H went inside to confront her while I checked out my arm. It wasn't bad, it didn't pierce very far at all, maybe a quarter of my pinky nail. But there was a good bit of dirt and stuff from the fire pit in my arm, which freaked me out. DH apparently confronted Mill and Svel was apologetic and begged him not to call the cops. DH asked Miller why she did it, and she apparently answered, she said she stabs people for a living, so I was going to poke her and say, now you see how it feels. But I didn't know my own strength. DH promised not to call the cops, but said to leave him alone unless he contacts her. Sounds good, right? No less than an hour after this had happened, DH was on my ass about forgiving her. He now isn't speaking to me because I told him I actually do want to call the police. And he said if I did he'd never forgive me. He actually threatened to grab Low and go to Mill's house for tonight if I didn't call her to talk it out. She's texted me over 20 times telling me she didn't mean to, but not actually apologizing. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to this post. My sister told me about this sub a while ago and I've been lurking, but never thought I'd actually post this. Is such update preface. Lo and I are at an urgent care clinic with my sister. We will be staying with her until DH finds a new rental. We are safe, thank you guys so much for all of the advice and help. So my sister drove over immediately after I called her and told me to pack a couple bags and come on. This went down within 15 minutes of me posting. She lives less than 10 meters away. I started packing and DH noticed and started freaking out, crying and begging me not to go. Sis took Lo out to the car so he didn't have to see it, thank God. And I lost my we both yelled, we both cried. DH kept yelling that his mom texted him to say she's crying her eyes out and is suicidal because everyone will think she's an abuser. When I tell, he asked if I planned to call the cops and I answered yes. He asked me to come and talk to his mom one more time and hear her out before I called. I agreed because I was already feeling shitty. A little note: we rent from Millel. She owns our house and lives up a small fenced hill from us. We're separated some thick brush, so she can't just walk down. It's a 5-minute drive. Though came over and sat in the chair looking sheepish. The first thing out of her mouth Was his low here? I said no. I asked my sister to take him for the night. She sighed and actually pouted, then said you wanted to talk. So talk. My husband later admitted he said he thought I was overreacting and that I would apologize. No, and saying that emboldened her basically. I called her out and said there was no way it was an accident. She said she just didn't realize how strong she is since she expects herself to be weak due to being sick. Apparently she has the flu, and invited us over with a low. Anyways, I got mad and raised my voice. She started burger trying to defuse it. Was working honestly. I was doubting myself. Then she dropped a bomb. I didn't expect you're just so hard to get along with. I just didn't expect you to be the one DH ended up with. I'm glad he did, but I expected someone more biblical. I love you to bits though. DH to my surprise jumped up and yelled, what the does that mean, Mom? She looked startled, then scolded him like a child. It was so unexpected that I just sat back. She kept talking and talking, then said something about disciplining me like a child, and it didn't even go in that deep. This is so ignorant. If it had gone deeper, I'd understand. DH for once in our marriage stood up to her. He blatantly asked, did you do this on purpose? At first she said no, then relented. I didn't know it actually go in. I didn't know it draw blood. DH told her to get out all of this in less than 15 minutes. He told her to never call him again and that we'd be moving. She started yelling and he shoved her out the door and slammed it in her face. I told him that if he was serious about moving, good, but I'm not staying until we find a place. And neither is Lo. I also demanded therapy and to never see his mom again. He agreed. My sister picked us up and Lo crashed on our couch. Sister looked at my arm and said we needed to go to urgent care now. So here we are. They said it needs the stitches, so we're waiting on that, and I'm going to receive a tetanus booster in some other shop that I'm missing. We spoke to the clinic cop and he said that it was probably an accident and basically brushed us off, so we're filing a police report tomorrow. I'm so tired. I wish I could say it's a happy ending, but I'm heartbroken. I seriously doubt my husband is going to hold true his moving promise once he sees rental prices compared to the amount we pay his mom. Sister said we could have the living room and pay half of her rent, and if he doesn't have a place his pick soon, I'm going to do it and file for divorce. Send me strength. Guys, update 2. You called me around 5 this morning and informed me that after some thought he does not want to move. I guess a few hours is enough time to make that decision. He said M came over and let herself, and he swears he wouldn't have opened the door. I doubt it. And they talked for a while and that she's genuinely sorry and offered to let us keep the house for free if we maintain the yard better and let this go. I'm not proud of myself, but I lost it. I called him out on never supporting me on anything ever with his mom, and he just kept making excuses for her past behaviors. This woman spanked our child hard enough and left a mark when he was less than 18 months old for knocking a cup over onto her, and he excused it as she did it with us to she just parents that way and views him as her own. She loves him so much and just jumped the gun. This whole ordeal makes me realize just how broken our marriage is. Her thinking my son is hers is a huge issue, not an excuse for beating him up. I feel like a mom and allowed her to do so much. She never laid a hand on him after that, but looking back she said some awful stuff to my baby. She called him when he was 3 because he spilled a plate of pasta and cried over it. That's just one example. Reading the comments here has made me realize how bad this actually is. I genuinely don't think she meant to break the skin, and we don't have the kind of relationship where she'd joke with me like that. I think she meant to poke me to hurt me and accidentally used too much force. This is getting long and I'm so sorry. I'm kind of word dumping while I wait for my sister to wake up so we can go file a police report. I don't want to tell her all of this because she's already so angry on my behalf that she's almost called Phil to get him to sort out DH. I told DH he can stay there and I'll move in with my sister. He demanded that Lo come back to live with him. I refused. He's welcome to see him but he cannot take him anywhere because L will not be seeing him. DH asked if Lo could ever see Milal again, and I said no, and as I started explaining that she'd also been hurting him, DH just kept yelling, but she's my mom and his grandma, so she's going to one way or another over and over again. He hung up on me when I said not. After I file a police report, I'm not doing this, and sent me some texts about how I never cared about him and how his mom is right, because if I loved him, I wouldn't do this to him. Has also texted me she's apparently so sick and upset that she can't sleep. I haven't responded, but since the last post I've received 4. The last one includes a fun note about how even though I hate her, I cannot take Lo from her, and if I try she'll fight back. I screenshotted it all, and I'm going to hand it over to the police. And one, she admits that she was only joking around when she poked me and claimed that it only went through because my tattoos weaken my skin, which is I'm rambling and sorry guys. This will probably be my last post for a while until this is sorted, but my sister told me to update something so you guys know we're safe. And then I'm filing a police report and for divorce to the 2 people who messaged me and asked me to not be hasty in deciding to leave him. He forced my hand. Have a nice Tuesday guys. I'll update if I remember to once we get the ball rolling. You've all been a tremendous help. Thank you for welcoming me into your community and giving me the confidence to handle this and not feel crazy. Update 3. I am filing for divorce. I meant to update a bit sooner because things happened and I need of legal advice. I was exhausted for brevity's sake. Well, to keep this from being a novel, I'm going to use bullet points. DH and Millel both sent me over a dozen texts apiece. DH said he wants a divorce because I can't possibly love him if I hate his family this much. So I agreed. He backpedaled pretty hard and admitted he was trying to manipulate me, but that Millel still hasn't actually apologized. We filed a police report. The officer was sympathetic and agreed it's assault, but said not to expect too much because it likely won't go very far. They went out and spoke to her. I have no clue what she said. They didn't arrest her, just warned her to expect a court date and to leave me alone. She immediately texted me to stop and leave her alone. I didn't respond. I've had doubts about the police report, but I'm not going back on it. This all happened before 4:00 p.m, so great day. I'm filing for emergency custody until this is sorted due to yesterday evening, which is why I wanted to post any advice on how to do this, where to report to, how soon they'll grant it is so appreciated. I can't give out my location. I'm not comfortable with it, so general advice is fine. Lo usually goes to an in-home daycare every weekday because of our work schedules due to me going in at 2 and not getting off until super late. I drop Lo off and DH picks him up on the days I work. Lo did not go to daycare yesterday and came down and watched him while sister and I handled everything because I didn't feel comfortable since daycare can't say no to the child's father. You guys really got to me in the comments, and I texted literally anyone I could think of who I trust with my baby to come watch him. He stayed at sister's apartment at 5:45. Lo's daycare teacher called me in a panic asking if I had dropped him off because he wasn't there to be picked up. I had forgotten to call her to tell her we wouldn't be coming, so I apologized and explained he wouldn't be coming in for a little while. She said his dad was outside to get him and asked if everything was okay. I said no, and to tell him Lo isn't going back to daycare. She hung up. I got a text asking where I am and when can he pick up Lo. I said he's welcome to come see him, but he can't take him to CMIL. DH didn't respond, so I'm on edge. I don't think they would kidnap him, but it's so terrifying to think about, and I don't know what Mill has been saying. I can't be sure. Lastly, I am going to my aunt's house later this week. She has a guest room and is going to watch Lo every day and let me take her car to the shop for work. I'm going to pay her rent and plan to switch bank accounts and move my money over a SOP. It's within state lines and about 30 minutes away, so we're okay legally. It also has more space and a backyard so can play some background, since a lot of people think I'm being hasty about the divorce and used to love me. She didn't like my tattoos, but I didn't have a lot at the time, so she just brushed it off. Aside from some passive-aggressive comments, we moved in with Mill and Svil. While I was pregnant, under the impression that we would buy the house once theirs was done being built, the one they live in now. Em asked that I take my piercings out. We fought about it, but I relented because it was supposed to be a less than 6-month thing. They moved like 4 months later. I could still put into of my piercings. I only had 4 nostril septum, and my ears, I could put my ears back in. She noticed and threw a hissy fit over my basic earring holes, and said part of the lease is that they cannot be in. Yep, we went from buying to renting. DH didn't even tell me. Apparently our rent was cheaper than the note would have been, so he agreed. This became a pattern. I'd tell him I all know. Low can't have something, do something, go somewhere. And she'd ask the H, who'd say sure mommy, anything for you, you're the best mommy ever. Not really, but may as well. So for the first 1.5 years Low was basically being parented by Miller behind my back. And I didn't even know she was our daycare, because we both worked 9 minutes 5, basically on most days, until she spanked my son so hard it left an actual handprint which bruised and welted 4 months. She didn't see him. Then DH started sneaking him over while I wasn't home. Then I'd come home and they'd be gone to get ice cream or to the park. I caught him finally when Low started talking and said he was going to Nos. My mom doesn't live here. So it clicked I was weak, so I caved and started going too. That's when the pasta incident happened, along with several other things. We started going less. Unless I had been tattooing at that point for a bit and had asked a lot of pieces. Mill had only seen me briefly in long sleeves and long pants, so she hadn't noticed, but when she saw them she claimed I was violating the rental agreement and tried to throw me out and keep Low there with DH. DH offered me an apartment and said he'd pay for it from the money he was getting from Mill, money I didn't even know about. I refused and said if I left Low was coming, and relented. She got really passive-aggressive when I started inking her son. I had done small pieces that were hidden on him. It took her a little while to notice and was outright abusive. To him she started making comments about, well, I just expect Low to show up one day with a tattoo. I dare you to touch him with that thing. If he ever gets one, I'll beat the devil out of you. And Low, you love yourself, so don't you get tattoos and holes like them. L actually said he didn't like mine at one point, but later admitted he did, but Nana said it was bad. When he told her about some of them, DH actually supported me then and told her to off. We rarely saw her for a while, that she bought this stupid massive jungle gym for Low for his birthday recently and said it had to be set up at her house. Low begged and begged to use it, so we let him, and she stabbed me. This isn't me just wanting a divorce or throwing away years of a relationship. I know you meant well, you were polite, but off with that. My life has been turned upside down. I'm terrified and don't know what to do. I've never even been in a courtroom. I've only filed a police report once in my life. Other than this, I am filing for divorce not because I want, but because I realized I'm being abused. And this isn't okay. Also, I have enough money and resources to get by. Thank you for the outpouring of help and kindness and all of the amazing advice. We have our ducks in a row as far as documentation, and I'm going later with a police escort to get Low and as things including paperwork. Thanks messenger. I've contacted a lawyer and am moving the process along. Update, a quick update. My last for a while until the legal stuff is over, because I'm honestly overwhelmed. Lawyer said I can leave this up since there are no names or locations. SDBXDH knows that we are at my aunt's. He said he does not want to pick Low up. Not that I offered or see him right now, because Miller is so distraught that she plans to check herself into a facility, and he blames himself for her being like this. I serve. The tech's lawyer is helping get everything ready for emergency custody. I took my deposits out of the account and put it into my own per lawyer's advice. Mom found the photo of Low. We're getting copies made. Looking at it makes my blood boil. That's my baby. I should have handled this a while ago. She also found a copy of some of the insane Mill sent me. When I first started apprenticing at the shop, basically saying I'm an unfit mother because my modifications are sending me to hell, while my son will be in heaven, therefore I am abandoning him, that's all for now. I feel better. Update for my previous posts were jumbled messes, I'm sorry guys. I was emotionally dumping here because there was so much I couldn't say in my real life. I'm going to try to make this one a little less wordy. So I got awarded emergency custody. And we have a hearing not long from now. Don't feel comfortable giving dates or more info on this. Originally my lawyer advised against even going for it, because my SDBX was only leaving evidence when he abused me, not my child. But now SDBX cannot come near us until the court date. Police escorted me the day after my last post to get our things. SDBX had the locks changed, and at first wouldn't open the door for the police, but relented. An officer waited by the door while I gathered everything up in trash bags. I had gotten all of my important into the car, including Lowe's birth certificate and shop records. Thank you guys for reminding me of those, and was loading up Lowe's toys. When Mill got there, she peeked past me into Lowe's room and started ugly sobbing on my shoulder, clinging to me. I shook her off after a few seconds and kept loading toys and books. I finished up and started stripping Lowe's bedding, and she lost her mind, screaming about how she bought that tower bed and I couldn't take it. She literally kicked it so it slid away from me and grabbed the pillows, holding them to her chest like a petulant child. I started to argue, but I just shrugged it off and said I could buy him a new one. She then demanded to go through the bags that were in my car already. I refused. She apparently tried to help herself into my vehicle because after she slunk outside, I heard an officer shouting at her. I finished up. SDBX asked if we could talk. I declined and left. SDBX dug his own grave a few nights ago. I completely stopped responding and sent one text telling him to go through our lawyers if he wanted to talk, and that if he wanted to see Lo, he may only text, not call, and we would work something out. He kept texting and calling. I blocked Mill's number, so she took to messaging my sister on Instagram, demanding I bring Lo back and talk this out with her son like adults. Quite a change of tune. How my sister let it slip that I'm pursuing a clause that would prevent Miller from seeing Lo, since I have proof of a few events that would be considered abusive, and now suddenly she's loved me this whole time and wants to fix everything. SDBX realized I wasn't responding, so he drove to my aunt's house. Lawyer said not to lie about where we are. She wouldn't let him in and told him to leave. They started shouting. My mom and sister took Lo upstairs, and when SDBX saw him walking with them stairs are in view of the door, he started pushing against the door. As Aunt was trying to close it, he shoved it hard enough that my aunt fell, so he bolted inside. And up the stairs he started banging on the door and yelling for Lo to come out right then, or else. My mom was yelling, what the does or else mean? What are you going to do? Your kid let your mom hurt him, go to hell. Paraphrase. She was losing her through the door. He was yelling back at her when I caught up, and in a moment of stupidity I shoved him. He shoved me back and kept shoving me and screaming in my face. I ran back down the stairs and he chased me. He had never acted like that before, so I panicked and locked myself in the bathroom, which he tried to push his way into at some point. His ride over came inside and started packing up whatever she could see of Lowe's. The cops came not long after this and had run to her car and called them and talked to them first and fed them a lot of, but once they realized we were hiding, they sided with us. SDBX got arrested. Miller was informed she could have been arrested for theft for removing Lowe's things. She was removing them when the cops arrived, but was given the option to give it back and got to go home. X was bailed out yesterday. Lawyer got the custody order set up, and it cleared this morning. Miller also may not come near him or attempt to pick him up, as she is included in the order. I never thought my life would end up like this, and honestly every time someone knocks on the door I feel like I'm jumping out of my skin. I don't know what SDBX exactly planned to do, but he has never behaved like that before. He usually is more mental than physical. I don't know what's gotten into him. Well, I do, but it all makes no sense. So that's the update, Lo. And I both are starting therapy. He doesn't understand what's happening and misses his dad a lot. He said that he wants to go 2 mils and play on that stupid jungle gym. He said he misses her too. How do I help him understand this? He's asked so many times if dad is picking him up, if we are going home soon, and it's breaking my heart. Stabber came back this morning to the main gate with 2 coffees and asked to be let in to talk to me. I could hear her yelling. I brought her Starbucks. Tell her I brought Starbucks. When the gate office called, I refused and told them to call the police if she wouldn't leave, and that she was the one on the photo was bringing down today for them for the no entry file. They told her she couldn't come in. Our house is on the corner, so we could see her at the gate. When we walked on the porch, we saw her argue for a bit into the speaker box, then back out and leave. I went ahead and brought the photos of her and SDBX down to the gate office. The attendant said she left when he mentioned the police. It was all on camera. I'm requesting the video. When filing for a restraining order, this edit to add, I called the police for the advice of my aunt. They're going out to her house now because she was told not to come back. Sprawl and the coffee update plus advice needed. I called the police back because they never updated me on what happened when they went to stab her. The officer said that she swore she wouldn't come back to the community if he didn't arrest her, so they let her be. If she comes back, she will be arrested for trespassing and possibly a couple other charges, as the community's landlord is sick of this already and said he's done with her coming here and upsetting his residents. We're sending AC and D next week. Stabber tried to call me several times after the police visited her. When I mentioned it, the officer said to send her one because they technically didn't tell her not to call, and it's a civil matter, so they won't be involved unless she threatens me openly. Here's where I need advice. X informed me that he will no longer be fighting me on the divorce. Since I called the police, he's done and wants it quickly and easily over. Sounds good. This is what I want to. He also informed me that he wants minimal comp with Lo. He said he would take the lowest possible visitation schedule in exchange for me not going for child support. He said if he could, he would sign his rights away in bonus, and that he may try while in jail. If he ends up going, it's hard for a parent to terminate rights in our area, but he wants to be done. He said he's willing to sign a paper stating this is what he wants so that we can use it in custody proceedings. Basically, he wants to pretend Lo doesn't exist. His words, because he'll never feel right around Lo and doesn't want the clause keeping Lo away from Mill because it make visits a pain. Millell did all of the actual parenting. When X and Millell were alone with him, I genuinely don't know how to respond. I want Lo to have a dad, and this came completely out of left field. I feel like he's trying to manipulate me, but at the same time, the text read is genuine. I'm turning a copy over to my lawyer when I see him Monday. But any advice on WTF? To even think about this Stabber update. My SDBX has disappeared. Stabber came to my work and asked if I knew where he was. I told her no, and to get out as I was busy, and this isn't the place. My shop owner came out and told her he was calling the police next time she sets foot in any of his establishments. She sent a slew of texts after being told to leave me alone, basically explaining that SDBX left a note saying he was going out of town and didn't know when he'd be back, but that it wouldn't be soon. She said she needs us and offered to let us live in her house. I did not respond. She sent another text asking for just Lou to come see her and that she'd pay for my gas and dinner movie for my sister, and I to just give her a few hours. I did not respond. She got nasty an hour later and called me and said I deserve the heartache she feels and not her. I did not respond, just sent it all to my lawyer via email, as they came shortly thereafter. She posted on Facebook asking about lawyers for grandparents' rights and a little blurb about her son running away from being a parent, and Lou needing her ASIL. Sent it to us and asked what was going on. I just said thanks, and that I didn't feel comfortable explaining, so SDBX is unreachable. My lawyer is trying to do some finagling to keep the divorce moving along, but we don't know where he's currently at all. He did text me and tell me he left a spare key at the house and to go ahead and get anything else we want, because when he comes back he's donating everything and moving, but that it would probably get ruined before then. An officer is going to go with us and let us get the rest of Lo's belongings that we couldn't take before. In my toiletries and makeup, there are other things I want, but I'm scared to take because I don't know about the legality of it. The officer agreed to sign off on an itemized list of what we take, so X can't claim otherwise, and the police department agrees that this is all insane and are siding with us. Finally, it seems AmITheA police are looking for X. Apparently, there was an order in place for him to not leave state before his court date for forcing his way into my aunt's house, and Mill believes he's left. We're going to the house now with an officer told Mom and I that X is creating more trouble for himself. At this point, Stabber showed up at the house. Update: most important part of this update, X is safe. They found him. He used a debit card tied to Stab's account. She called the police and texted me after it happened. The police notified me as well that he is in custody and will not be released until his court date. He had just crossed state lines, and according to Sobra's text sheet, told him to use the debit card because no one would know. Then when he did, she called the police and told them her plan and helped them get him summarized long text. Stabber claims she's helping us because she can't believe he's doing this to Lo. I do believe she's concerned for Lo and honestly feel awful. But at the same time, my lawyer said absolutely no contact between them and I'm going to trust him. This happened late last night. Yesterday, I went back to the house for what will be my last time. I took the advice here and let the officer go first. The house was clear and everything was in good condition. There was a lot of trash and the kitchen was filthy, but otherwise it was okay. Mom entirely cleared out Lo's room and spent the evening rebuilding Un's guest room to look as close to Lo's room as possible. Lo was super excited to have the rest of his toys and books back. Everything was untouched and perfect in his room. So after wiping it all down, he got some of his normally back. My room was wrecked, though I had taken my clothes before. Aside from what was in the washer, those were nowhere to be found, but it's not a big deal. Everything was a mess in our room. Trash was everywhere, but nothing was broken or damaged. We took photos of everything. Mom was loading the kitchen. When Stabber showed up, the officer asked her to please wait outside and had me come out. She had a Walmart bag for me. Inside was my makeup. She had this beaten puppy look and said that she had saved it from the house when everything happened because she didn't want it to get ruined. When she knew how much I loved it all, I took the bag and thanked her to be still, and she kind of just hung around asking if we heard from X. This was before he was found, asking if L was inside, asking if she could order us dinner. AmITheA. The officer only let her stay for a few minutes and asked her to leave, which she did without complaints. After going home, I looked at the makeup and it was clearly used. My male lipstick had a hair attached to it. I tossed the lot. Stabber called the police shortly after we left and had a little meltdown about her son going missing and how we were both crazy and hellbent on hurting each other, and that they need to get Lo because we were dangerous, according to Sil, who apparently is staying with Stabber now to help her because Stab's family believes she's a danger to herself. A few hours later, she called the police about X's location, then messaged me my thoughts. She knew where X was the whole time. I don't believe her story for a second. She knew where he was and when he used the card she called, because she's trying to manipulate everyone into removing any blame from her. Hence her bringing my makeup back and playing nice. I don't know where X's head is. My lawyer said to completely ignore her unless police contact me. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll update after the court date because this sub is keeping me sane, or if something major happens. Thank you guys so much. Either Stabber is following me or has flying monkeys. I don't have an update on X. I've washed my hands of it and decided to completely be uninvolved. In his legal situation, for the advice of my doctors, he won't be out of jail until his hearing, so I have no concerns with him anymore. Yesterday, my mom offered to keep low for the evening and let me go out and blow off steam a group of friends. And I went out to a movie and dinner. The group consisted of myself, a couple who I've known forever, a single female friend, and a male friend who is engaged, but his fiancée couldn't make it. This is all important. X knows all of them. At dinner, the couple sat on one side of the booth, female friend in a chair on the outside, and male friend on the other half of the booth with me. When the waiter came to clear the table, male friend and I decided to share dessert. Our female friend joked that his fiancée would be jealous, so he wrapped his arm around my shoulders and squeezed me, and said something along the lines of, "Well, she'll just have to get over it." Everyone laughed. I turned red because he was loud, and we shared the food, and left. Sil messaged me about Mill being in a tizzy. Apparently, I'd gone on a triple date with X's very best friend. No, this guy has been my friend. He got along with X, but they weren't close and was all over him. We shared dessert and smooched. Mill messaged friend's fiancé, who told her to piss off because she's known me as long as he has, and I wouldn't do that to her. So just a lovely little tidbit of drama. Can this be over yet? It's exhausting. Also, both friend and his fiancé had visited us at the old house and knew the crazy rules. Friend had to stay outside in 100 heat all day to hang out because X wasn't home, because guys couldn't come inside. Spro has been arrested, and it has no relation to me. Stabber was pulled over at a Dewey checkpoint over the weekend and could not pass the sobriety tests. Her friend's preteen child was in the back seat. Phil is bailing her out today if he can get the money together, as she's cut him off of the joint accounts. He asked me to help because she only had the girl with her, because the mom was too intoxicated at the party to pick her up from a friend's sleepover, because the kid wasn't planned to come home until the next day. I told him no, it's not my problem and I'm not enabling her. She's driven drunk before, despite hating anyone else drinking at all, and Svil claims this is her second time getting caught. They had no clue about the first time. She's possibly losing her license, so small update. Stabber drives tipsy a lot, so it was a matter of time. It just feels like a victory because it happened now. I have no clue who told her about the restaurant, but honestly, it is what it is. I'm happy karma is coming around. Spro is out 4 years ago. Spro is out. I'm assuming Svil paid it off and has contacted my lawyer via email. Wish I could transcribe the whole thing, because holy hell, shortened and rephrased version, because it was 5 paragraphs of rambling and has too much identifying info and many areas that made no sense. Lawyer, I am stabbed. Throw waste of Bill's mother-in-law. I don't understand. She is sent a cease and dice letter through your office and will not be contacting her, but would like you to relay a message for me if at all possible. And within legal bounds, I was informed my husband contacted throwaways to Bill about my legal run-in and would like to inform her it will not happen again. He was not acting on my behalf and I never asked him to press her for money. I apologize for his behavior. Also, we will not be pursuing legally mandated visitation with Low at this time. Any threats were thrown around while I was angry about the situation, and I revoke them now. I do, however, feel it is best for Low to know both his mother and father's family, and as such, I am asking to be considered in any future custody arrangements with SDBX should SDBX be cleared of his case on date coming up soon. He does not plan to make your throw waste toll's life harder than it needs to be, and wishes for this to all place favorably for all involved and fully benefit Low. SBX would like to revoke his claim that he wants little contact with Low and would like to offer a 50/50 split, with me having little involvement but not fully banished from Low's life, as he will need childcare during SDBX's working hours and daycare may not be suitable for a child going through divorce. Let us know if Throwaway accepts the offers and tell her I am open to keeping Low anytime. Thanks, bro. So she didn't go through a lawyer like the CNDD asked her to. She also tried to speak for my SDBX, whose lawyer claims he does not want Lo as of this morning. So whatever, keep talking Spra, an update on Spra, an XX's court date happened. My mother, Aunt Spra, and I were all required to appear as witnesses. We all told the same story. The truth that X forced his way in Stabber. Claimed she could not see if he did or did not, but based upon the state of the house. When she entered to get Lo things, she knew he did something stupid, but hoped it wasn't too bad and they'd just be able to leave without the cops. My mom rolled her eyes and gave me the look when she said that the prosecutor asked Stab why she decided to just start gathering Lo things and not see if everyone was okay, to which she responded that she did not want to be involved and was just panicking. Because she saw some things knocked over and heard yelling, she just wanted to get Lo and get out. She also basically admitted under oath that she planned on grabbing Lo and leaving with her without XX's lawyer. Tried to paint me as the aggressor because I shoved him away from the room where my mom had Lo. But the judge didn't buy it and asked him what I should have done given my ex was kicking the door and had knocked over my aunt, hurting her in general. The lawyer did a piss poor job. He tried to point fingers at literally everyone else. Even though X's own statements admit it was his fault, X said very little and apologized. To us all, nothing was resolved at the court date, and there is another one set for several months from now, but X's lawyer did express that he was going to try to get the date moved up. General idea is that he could face 1-5 years right now, likely on the lower end, or even potentially walk free. Stabber approached us as we were leaving the court date. I was simmering because I really wanted a definitive verdict. Unrealistic, I know, and her statements pissed me off. She walked up to my mom bypassing me, but also blocking me from getting into the car, and started playing 20 questions about Lo. Mom didn't take the bait, told her to mind her own family and stay the hell out of ours, then hopped in my passenger seat. I got my aunt into the back seat and walked around. Stabber asked me a dumb question about whose car I'm driving. I am officially my aunt's tenant, so I have stability, and wanted to erase all ties to X, so I got a new to Muse car for cheap from a friend. I ignored her and walked around to the front to get in. She walked quickly around and stood in front of the door, so I couldn't open it, and asked again whose car I'm driving. I said it's mine. She asked how, and I told her to leave me alone. She didn't move. My mom hopped out and waved down an officer. She saw the cop and left. She later emailed my lawyer asking for a copy of my current expenses so she can have it on record for X for child support reasons. My lawyer declined, but said she asked for my car price, rent bills, estimated money spent on food, clothes, schoolwork for Lo and myself, and a couple other things. We filed it in the stack of weird we have as evidence. She's bonkers since then. It's been radio silence, not a peep. Hopefully it stays that way. Sorry if this is vague and disjointed. I'll post a more detailed account once all of this is over, but my sister said I should at least update you guys so you know we're all okay. Lo is doing really well. He's going to a Montessori school setup per his therapist's recommendation, and it's really helping. He brings me little trinkets and crafts and is really loving it all. My aunt also got him a mini trampoline for the house, so he's pretty spoiled again already. Thank you guys for listening. Stabber had a public meltdown. I did not think I'd be back so soon, but I thought you guys would want to hear about this morning. My mom is so pissed that she almost drove to Stab's house. My mom decided to do a big Thanksgiving party at my aunt's house and invite everyone to see EO, since we hadn't attended one of my family's events in a few years. Stabber hogged holidays. Mom officially transferred from her office site to one closer to aunt's house so that she can see Lo more. Help with him. She could not come to our house often due to Stab her, so when she got a transfer opportunity, she took it. This is a whole other story I'll have to post one day earlier this month. So we plan to have a few of her new work friends come by too, and is still experiencing some hip and back pain, so she and mom stayed home and sent me to the store to grab some things this morning. Since we were super unprepared for that many guests, Mom offered to keep low, but he begged to go with me to just look high me buy more ornaments and musical stuff, because he's a Christmas fiend at the Christmas decorations, so I brought him along. We got all of our items and headed down the Christmas aisle. Lo was riding in the grocery area of the cart because the store was packed with people, and I didn't feel great about letting him walk in the literal shoulder-to-shoulder crowds. He picked an ornament near the top of the shelf, so I looked for someone to get it down to short for that. I had my back turned for less than 2 minutes. When I heard Lo shriek sprawl and start trying to climb out of the cart, I grabbed him and started to ditch the cart and walk away, but she had already noticed us and came running up as fast as her ham-shaped legs could take her. Because I'm extra right now, let me paint a picture of sprawl. Before we continue, imagine a discarded tampon, and you're pretty close. She was wearing a red flowy long dress with a handkerchief hemline and white granny sandals, with a long silver sparkly cardigan that almost touched the floor. Her hair is white blonde and cut like a mushroom cap around her face. She's short and plump, tomatoes in that moment, if you will, a tampon tomato. So she comes running up and holds her arms out to Lo, who being a now 4-year-old reaches back. I pulled him back and told her to get away from us. She tried to reach around me to talk to Lo, going on about her big Thanksgiving tomorrow with turkey presents. She bought Lo presents for Thanksgiving and said the turkey from dinner left them before being cooked. I asked if we could go, and I said no, to which he whined. I repeated that Stabber needed to leave us alone now, and that I was grabbing my cart and going. Stabber threw the things in her arms into my cart and squared up like she was going to swing at me. I yanked my cart back and turned to leave. In this lunatic bellows, "You stupid!" the entire area went silent, and I froze in my tracks because holy Stabber kept screaming, yelling that I couldn't take Lo from the only family he's ever known. And then I ruined all holidays for him. Forever I stood there like an idiot deer in headlights. Through all of it, everyone was staring, and I had no clue what to do. Spross screamed at Lo that she was sorry. He was caught in mommy's games. He was crying already, so I yanked him away the area and started walking away, shaking like a leaf. And she screamed after us, "Lo, Lo, Lo, come here, sweetie N, as sorry Lo, look Lo," trying to get his attention, but his face was buried in my neck. The manager came out and asked what was going on. I explained, and he made Stabber leave the store, then personally checked us out and escorted us to the car. Stabber was sitting in the lot and made an obvious effort to record us or take photos with her phone. When I was leaving, the manager had walked over to her car as I had pointed her out and was chewing her out. She was screeching and flapping her hands around everywhere like an I cried when I got home, and it spooked Lo pretty badly because now he's clinging to my side. He's sleeping on my legs as I type this, and every time I try to get up, he wakes up and sobs. So I'm stuck here for a while. We're going to try to go see his doctor as soon as the long holiday is over, and hoping this doesn't mess up any progress we've made as Forex. He officially changed his plea to guilty. We're waiting to see what that means, because my lawyer said it could go several different ways, but that he will likely get a lesser sentence, but we can start divorce proceedings sooner this way. Stabber texted my sister. She apologized for the outburst at the store and said that she was just so upset seeing Lo reach for her and me pulling him away that she lost her cool. She suggested I shop at an alternative store to avoid such a situation again. She also said that she's concerned about me possibly leaving state with Lo, and requested my sister send her a photo every week of Lo with a stamp where she'd be sending for an Amber Alert for kidnapping before custody was sorted. Not how that works, but okay, she said. Her lawyer requested it from my lawyer to my lawyer said that he did receive an email from her lawyer and is following up to check if it is actually from the lawyer. If not, he will try to convince the other lawyer to report it and will suggest I file for harassment charges. She went on to say she's just so concerned about my mental health because I'm dealing with a lot, and that she herself feels crazy sometimes. No, I'm shaking. She could have dropped it. After screaming at me in a crowded store, but she kept going. If it is fake, I will be calling the police. I may try, even if it isn't. My lawyer doesn't think it'll go anywhere, but it may give us documentation that it happens. Edit. While writing this, lawyer called and said that the other lawyer did not send the email and does not have a client under that name. He believes the lawyer dropped Stabber. After the she pulled a bit ago, police asked I come to the station to file a report. CIS is emailing me screenshots and trying to get out of work to drive down. Well, update after going to the police station. Also, the whole text had a Thanksgiving theme. Sis told me she blocked her, but she didn't, and has been screenshotting texts as they come. There have been 5 minor hello, how is low texts before this that she didn't mention to me. She now knows to tell me about this update to my last Stabber post. So big news first. We have been granted what is essentially a temporary emergency restraining order until we go to court in a few days. They're really rushing us through at this point because of the events at the police station, and immediately after. Also sorry for not updating sooner. I know I promised to post right after the meeting, but I needed some time to take everything in. My mother and I waited at the police station for over an hour and a half before we got to talk to someone, because our case was not a priority amid some other things that were happening. Justifiable, lots of crazy was going down. According to local news sites, during that time frame, we went back and were taken to the chief of police's office, and he was not exactly happy to see us. I showed him the messages and informed him that we had a sent C and D that she was choosing to ignore. I showed him documentation and explained she was impersonating a lawyer to harass us, which in my state is a crime. He waved us off, dismissing it as a civil matter, until I said that. So thank you to whoever pointed out that it is in fact illegal to impersonate a bar-registered person. He looked through our literal stack of papers showing harassment and said he would be sending a car out to tell her to not contact me again, and that doing so would be considered harassment, which is a punishable offense. He said he would not arrest her for harassing me right then, but would be keeping copies of the information on the falsified lawyer letters in case the actual lawyer comes forward. And then I was welcome to go file for a restraining order, but he did not believe I would get one. He took down my information and sent me on my way, assuring me that one more contact from her would have consequences. The details here are blurry. I got them secondhand from a few angry relatives of Sobbies who messaged me after the fact to tell me what a shitty person I am. The cops visited Stab's house later in the evening. Because of the crazy happening, Stabber claimed at first to have no knowledge of the text to my sister and showed her phone, from which she'd simply deleted them. She'd also conveniently been with her sister all day, who said she could not have possibly sent or deleted any texts due to her being there. The officer informed them he had evidence otherwise, and Stabber stuck to her guns. The officer told her to cut the and left. Sometime later, an intoxicated Stabber began making threats against her own life. She said she'd kill herself if she did not know was safe before bedtime, and that her entire life had fallen apart, so there was no point in trying to survive anymore without exfil. And low round her sister, who was also intoxicated, stayed there all night. A filled Stab's head with more, because she's even worse, to make sure Stabber was okay. Not what she's ever done. She hypes up people before confrontations for fun. After midnight, Stabber called what she believed to be my mother's phone number and got no answer. The number was actually mised, but our apparent refusal to answer a call we never received from someone we have legally pursued no contact with sent her over the edge. Stabber locked herself in a bathroom and informed her sister she was taking her own life. Sobra has done this before. Usually the person outside will bang on the door and plead with her, coaxing her out and making her feel better. I've done this. X has done this. My own mother, who does not even like her, has done this. Stab's sister did not. She called 911. I don't know what happened after that, but Spraw has been put on a 24-hour hold. With the potential for a longer stay, she ended up being released to the care of the absent. Until now, still with instructions to stay away from us. I cannot go into more details at this time, but we were told to file for a restraining order first thing Monday morning. And we did. I've been typing since we left. As of right now, we have a sort of emergency protection against her, and it will likely become an order covering myself and Lo for 1 year, at which point it will be reapproved or denied. My lawyer believes we have a good case for reapprovals proving her instability. Spraw is not allowed near us, and if she breaches this order she will be arrested. We requested the tapes from the grocery store, by the way, but were informed they were not available. My lawyer is pressing us to why, as it would be a great help in our overall plan. If X gets any visitation, he may not bring Lone or Stabber at all due to her explosive temper. We are looking to make Lo's order hopefully extend until he's 18. Because after the details I've learned this weekend, I fully believe she would kidnap my child. She genuinely believes I'm evil incarnate sent to destroy her family. I'll explain it all once the court case is over, if I am allowed. For now, I'll just be sharing old Spraw stories. Though a holiday Spraw update. First off, happy holidays. Lo and I had a great Christmas with only a couple of hiccups. X was released from jail, or less. He got time served with mandatory counseling, purposely leaving out anything identifiable here, and will not be answering questions about the court date. He did not reach out on Christmas at all, and we did get word that he is still attempting to give up his rights to him. I have no clue where he's staying and do not care. The divorce is moving along from here on. Stabber ended up getting herself arrested on Tuesday. We got our restraining order pushed through against her based on her actions a month ago. We also found out that she had essentially threatened my life and my mother's while having her meltdown directly to police officers. Tuesday, the day after Christmas, Mom and I decided to run to the mall to make a couple of exchanges. We did not see anyone there at all that we knew, just popped in and out, while Elle stayed home with my sister. When we got home, sister and Lo had gone to get lunch. On the porch were several gift boxes. They were all blank tacked, but listed for Lo by name in a handwriting I did not recognize. I opened them because I'm paranoid, and inside one was a note in the same handwriting, detailing how much the gifter loves Lo and how sweet and precious he is, and that if he ever needs anything, he knows where to go. It was signed from Spraw, but not in her handwriting. I called the police and immediately checked the cameras we installed. After the last blow-up, Stab's sister was clearly visible placing the boxes. The police confronted her, and she admitted to doing it for Stabber because the restraining order prevented her from giving the gifts, but not having them delivered. The officers explained that whatever Stabber had told her was, and that she was acting illegally. Stabber first played dumb, then eventually admitted to having the gifts delivered, breaking down in tears and begging to speak to me. I refused. She was arrested and almost immediately bailed out. So that's where we're at. Stabber update. It has been a bit, so I thought I'd update. You guys were right, Stabber was following me. She ended up getting herself arrested again and spent 5 nights in jail before being released. She's apparently been doing it on and off since the breakup, just keeping tabs. The divorce is moving along. X has agreed to all of my terms, so it's just a matter of going to court and getting it all settled. He disclosed that he'd been cheating on me for quite some time with a work friend, and that he wishes my blessing to be with her. I agreed, because I'm over it. It did sting, but it's over and done. He also still does not want to see Lo after X said he was moving with his girlfriend. I went on a date. A longtime friend invited me to dinner and drinks, and after some pressure from my mom, I went. After dinner, we walked to a corner bar and had a couple of drinks. Then he walked me back to the parking garage and to my car. When we got there, he kissed me on the cheek and said good night, and we agreed to go out again later that week or grab lunch. After he left the level, I started to back out. and saw Stabber running at my car red-faced. She started hammering on my passenger window and screaming. I called the cops and she didn't leave, just kept screaming about how she's got me now and started kicking my door. The cops rolled up and she started shrieking about how adultery is illegal in our area and demanded they arrest me instead. She got arrested. She consented to a search of her car because she smelled of alcohol, of which they found a notepad with notes listing what they believed to be my work hours and an outline of Lowe's school schedule, recess, lunch, whatever, basically whenever he's outside during the day. Sproul basically openly admitted that she planned to snatch Lowe while she was screaming at me, saying I'm a bad mother and that she's going to make sure he's growing up right. We are pushing for her to be held for psychiatric help because this level of crazy is out of character for her. I reached out to X about her actions and he just responded, keep me out of it. Other than that, it's quiet time. But get paranoid now and scared and have no clue where she's or what she's doing. Elle has been pulled from school and my aunt is working to get everything set to homeschool him. Such a show. And any advice is really